Hey guys, this is Fridolin with Tree Service Leads Unlimited, and in this video I'm going to talk about how to write SEO content that ranks. So I'm going to walk you through how you can achieve similar results like this. This is one of my clients where we optimized the homepage content, and 1 month after we did that, you can see the ranking improvements right here. So that's some pretty crazy results, and I'm going to show you exactly the process that I used, the tool that I used, and so you can follow along and achieve the same results. I'm first briefly gonna cover some theory, Google EEAT, what that means, and why you should understand that. Feel free to skip that if it's too theoretical for you and jump straight into the practical part, but I recommend that you watch that. It's just 4 minutes, and then we're gonna look at the example and how to actually write the content. So enjoy. Okay, so first I want to briefly talk about Google's EEAT guideline, which stands for Experience, Expertise, Authoritativeness, Trustworthiness. So the first thing is the experience. That means you should add demonstrate, add real photos and videos of real jobs, then write from whenever possible from a first person perspective, and demonstrate like first-hand in the field experience. Obviously that's sometimes difficult, but whenever you can, definitely do that. The more real it seems, the better. Then write blog posts based on your own experience, show off relevant reviews from customers. Say on your tree removal page, show a review about a tree removal service, not about pruning or stump grinding. Likewise, on the stump grinding page, if you have a testimonial or review that talks about that service, then put it there. To make it as relevant as possible. Then you can create localized case studies and that might seem a bit odd, but let's say you removed a tree in a certain part of the city and there's something unique about it, or even if there isn't, just kind of document it, take some pictures of that, and then write it almost like a story. And Google will recognize that that's almost nobody does that, but that's actually that's very unique because nobody else does it. And you write about the specifics of that project, and even though that might seem odd to you, that will really help your site. And then lastly, write the subject matter expert that you are. Even if you're not licensed by ISA or whatever, you know a lot about tree work, and so if you write that content, naturally it's gonna be better and perform better actually, as if someone like me writes that, honestly, because even though I might know a lot about tree service as I only worked with your industry, you probably know more than I do, and so you know all the little nuances and small things, and you will naturally let that flow into the content. So your content will naturally be more nuanced, and Google recognizes that. So that's for the experience piece. Next thing is the expertise part. Just if you write with the experience piece, then that almost takes care of itself, honestly. Now, a couple other things here. Have a detailed about us page. That's also for the trustworthiness, but that mentions your years in business, training background, all those things. Then that's important to establish topical authority with a strategic content plan. So if you have if you cover the topic of, say, tree removal, different aspects of tree removal, what to consider, pricing, how-to articles, maybe when not to remove a tree, how to remove a leaning tree, all different kinds of angles. You basically try to cover that topic in a more broader depth with different blog articles. Google will see that and see that you're you know a lot about that topic, and then your service pages will rank better. And then if you also have the internal linking structure to support that from the blog out to the commercial pages, then that's going to be even better. So that's also how you demonstrate expertise. And then having a real trustworthy author page, it's probably just going to be one person that's going to be of who the name will be on the blog articles, which is usually the owner. And so it's just good to create a dedicated author page that just has a short author bio in there and some additional information. Just looks very real and trustworthy. That's also a good signal. So that's it for expertise. Then authoritativeness. that honestly comes down to like just high quality backlinks for the most part. If you don't know what backlinks are, gonna link my video where I explain that in the end here. So definitely check that out. But this is all just also like just getting links from other websites, and then also on top of that, getting more Google reviews, getting listed on industry sites like ISA if you are a member, on directories like Yelp, Home Advisor, Angie, Yellow Pages, you name it. The more, the better. But much more important than those directory listings are the backlinks. And then get trust signals on your site. This also helps with trustworthiness. Licensed and insured badges, testimonials, local awards, whatever you have, add it. This will all help. And the last piece is trustworthiness. Obviously, your sites should be secure with HTTPS, with HTTPS protocol. And then you should display your full business info, real address, phone number, service areas. The more real and the more like a real business your website comes off as, the better, because these days there are a lot of fake websites that try to paint a picture and make Google believe that they're a real business, but it's hard to really fake that, honestly. And so you should really show Google, hey, I'm a real business. Link your Google Maps listing on there, on your site, and just write personal stuff about your team members. That's great. Show these are real people that are working here. And yeah, as I'm saying here, the more real and personable everything is, and the more real it comes off, the better. And as I said in the beginning, the case studies, if you have stuff like that, nobody that's just doing SEO and trying to rank for getting leads and does like lead generation and builds fake websites, nobody does that, because they can, or they could come up with a fake story, but they don't even think to those links. So if you do that, you'll be far ahead. Now let's look at some real examples. So if I search for tree service Miami, obviously I got the map pack, but then the organic results, let's see what comes up there. The results are a little bit personalized. So the actual number one result, if someone searches, would be this one right here, affordabletreeserviceinc.com. How do I know? I ran a separate test here with my content optimizer Rankability. You go to competitor, so I analyze this keyword tree service Miami, localized for Miami, Florida, and I go here to competitors, and I'm able to see the top ranking sites for this particular keyword in Miami. So if someone in Miami types in Google tree service Miami, this is what's going to come up. And on desktop and mobile, both in number one, we got Affordable Tree Service Inc. Let's have a look at their site. And obviously, if we look at the backlink profile, they have pretty strong backlinks, but let's just look at the content here. And what we can see here is, obviously they got the first heading here optimized for Tree Service Miami. But beyond that, is this what people are looking for? Is this good content? Obviously, this is, now we're looking at homepage copy. That's a bit different than blog content. So here, everything that I just said doesn't apply 100% in the sense that, of course, you gotta write from a first-person perspective, ideally, and bring in your own experience. But here, we're more writing text to sell, right? This is the text here should sell the customer on we're the best tree service company to hire. We're the best choice for what you're looking for. And here they got a service feature. Here they got more services that they have linked here. Then they got some pictures, and it's all well and good. Now let's contrast that with, I deliberately looked at on the 10th page of Google, and I found this site right here, and you'll immediately see the difference is just in terms of the content. This content is probably fine, but it's just a wall of text and nobody will read this. It's too small. So the content design also matters. People should be able to read it. This text here is much bigger, easier to read, more broken up, most importantly. So I'm not saying that this is perfect, but it's certainly way better than this right here, right? So I think we can agree on that. And then here we got another example. This is the number 4 ranking result. They also did a good job here, I would say, in breaking up the text and making it more digestible. So that's definitely something that you want to do. And whenever we're writing content that's on a page that has a lot of traffic, where we want to convert visitors into action takers, calling or leaving a form submission, then the SEO is less important. Of course, we still want to take it into account. So let's have a look at our content optimizer tool here, Rankability. And we can see here the domain score. You can see that resembles how strong that website is in terms of its backlink profile. 219 is relatively strong, this one as well. Now, the number 4 ranking result, TreeServiceMiami.com, is weaker, and then All Day Tree Service ranking number 5 with just a 74 domain score and a rankability score of 15. That means, and it only has 318 words. So that tells us, okay, you don't have to have a ton of content necessarily to rank well. At least not like, here's where it becomes interesting. Maybe there's many other different factors. Maybe they have a lot of branded traffic. And therefore a lot of people know them already. They go to their website, their homepage, and they have very good engagement on that homepage. So there's other factors that we can't derive from this, but just in terms of the content, this rankability score tells us how relevant that content is. Here we see measures content quality and relevance using natural language processing, NLP, AI technology from Google and IBM Watson. So we can see here what's the most relevant content. The most relevant content is Yelp. And so that's kind of what Google doesn't tell you. What we looked at with the Google EEAT is, yes, that's all true. However, the number one thing usually is the content relevant to the search query? Is this what the person is actually looking for? And then, well, how unique is this content, and does this content bring anything new to the table if we look at the other results that are ranking for this query? And most importantly, does it fulfill the search intent? So if someone is looking for Tree Service Miami, and we can just find that out by just going to Google and searching Tree Service Miami, and we'll see, right, this is all business sites. So this is what Google is serving up here. If we want to rank for this keyword, we better write something similar to what these businesses are doing. And for example, other example, how to trim trees in Miami, in Florida, or let's do Florida. Then we'll probably have more blog content. So here we have blog content. We even have some ads, which is funny. Oh, they got broad match, okay. But here you can see more blog posts. And so if you wanted to rank for how to trim trees in Florida, you would probably want to write a blog post, right? It makes sense. So the intent of the searcher is informational. They're looking for some information on how to do this, and they're not looking for a business. So the intent is informational and not commercial. So that's a big thing, like search intent. So going back here, we got the relevance, and that's a really big thing because you can see here, someone even searching for Tree Service Miami, this result is not very relevant. They only have 75 words on that page. Of course, Google knows, based on all the other content that's on this domain, that they do Tree Service Miami, but they could be doing so much better. They could possibly rank number 3 or 4 or maybe even number 1 if this website, if they added more content to the homepage, and they wouldn't have just 75 words, because they have a relatively decent domain score here, you see, of 113. So if they optimize that page, added more relevant content, and they achieve the rankability score of maybe 70 to 100, which is absolutely doable, they'd be more relevant than any other result. So they'd certainly be doing better. So pretty easy thing that these guys could be doing. And how would they do that? Now let's come to the main point here. how would they optimize their content, or how would they create new content that would rank. So we do that mainly through basically serving the Google the most relevant piece of content for any given search query, because relevance is so important. So all that this tool basically does is it helps us create the most relevant possible piece of content. And so the way that this is being achieved is this tool scans all the top 30 competitors, scans all their, like for this particular keyword, for Tree Service Miami, scans all those pages that are ranking, and then based on those results and what it can find on those pages, gives us related keywords. And this approach works really, really well because it basically gives you a really good overview and idea of what Google is already ranking for this keyword. And here you can see, obviously, the number one thing that we should integrate in the content is Tree Service Miami, the words Tree Service Miami. So we could start by saying your reliable trees, or just reliable tree service. Tree service. We could also say your reliable tree service company in Miami, FL. But then it wouldn't track. It would track those two keywords, but not this one, and we want to have this one in the H1. So this should be the main heading, and the main keyword, the primary keyword, should always be in the main heading. So your reliable tree service in Miami. Let's make it reliable tree service Miami. Sounds less awkward. Something like this. And you can include the in. You absolutely keep that in. Sounds awkward if you don't. Google is smart. You don't have to have it. This is what some SEOs do. Reliable tree service Miami FL. And it's just sounding awkward. You don't have to do that. However, you certainly would want the primary keyword in the H1, and then in the H2, in the first H2 heading, you have a your professional tree care company, your trusted and professional tree care. You can say tree care experts in Miami FL, in Miami and surrounding, maybe something like this. And then what we have here is tree care experts in Miami is a keyword variation, even though it's not being like marked as green here, you know, that's good. It's something that people might also search for, tree care experts. Or we could say tree care company. This is a common keyword, so we could just use tree care company. This is one that I like to use a lot because I know it's just something people search for a lot. Tree care company, your trusted and professional tree care company in Miami and surrounding areas. And now, after that, we write the intro text. And in the first sentence, again, we want to use the primary keyword. The very beginning of your content is pretty important. So we would do something like this, directly speak to the reader. I usually have some variation of this, honestly, because it sounds natural. You don't want it to sound awkward. People shouldn't notice that you're trying to optimize for any keywords or trying to optimize to rank better. Really ever. They shouldn't notice that. If they do and it's sounding awkward, that's not good. Maybe in some blog content it might be okay, but for commercial pages like this, don't do it. So, but we can say, are you looking for safe and affordable tree service in Miami FL? And then we got this keyword again here in the first sentence. So we got it in the H1, we got it in the first H2 tag, then we got it in the first sentence, and then we can keep going here with our content. And then we just keep writing our content. Here we have a word count target. That just gives us a range. I think 1,200 to 1,500 words for a homepage is good. And so we can kind of aim for that while including as many of these keywords as possible here. Now here's what's important is, again, only include them if they're relevant. Only include them if they make sense in the context. It shouldn't sound awkward. And then secondly, think of these terms not so much as keywords, but more as topics to cover. So if you can write a short paragraph about you offering free estimates. That should be pretty easy, right? You're going to have a call to action there about that anyways. But tree pruning, right? Best example here. So further down on the page, we will have our tree care services, and that will be another heading. And that's the other thing, like not everything is being marked as a keyword, quote unquote keyword, but tree care services is a keyword, if you will. So you have to kind of think outside the box here as well. Don't just like take everything at face value here, and don't just say aim to get the highest score possible here. That's not the full picture, but it really gives if you have a high score here, you'll probably rank well. And then you publish your content. That's the first iteration, and then you that's the first version. Then you come up with multiple iterations after that until you rank. But basically, you could say our tree care services, and then you have another heading underneath, tree pruning services and tree removal services. And that will certainly, you see how it marks those keywords now. And you can format that as a heading here as well. And that would be a heading 3, an H3. And then what I like to do is I just go through all the keywords. So I come up with the content outline first. I think what's the content outline that makes sense for this, for this page. So here I would have a section, different sections about services that's where usually you can include the most keywords. Then you have a section about the different service areas, because that's the info that people want, is what I found. Do you service my area? Do you offer the service that I'm looking for? That's the most important info. So you have that high up on the page in the copy. With imagery that supports that, Google Maps embed, and then further down you can write some more stuff about what makes you unique, and you can But basically, what I usually like to do is so I'm going to write something about tree removal services, about tree pruning services, stump grinding, emergency tree service, and so on. Maybe cabling and bracing, tree planting, whatever it might be. And then underneath those, and here again, we have lawn services. If you don't offer those, obviously don't include it, because you don't want to rank for that. But let's say, so here, I can search. So I can search for remove, and now I got dead tree removal. So I know the best area to include this keyword is here. Right, so I got dead tree removal. So I know I want to include that in the tree removal services section. Now I can look for trimming. So I know I can include those 3 keywords in the tree pruning services section. And so I just kind of add them here. And so then I basically collect the keywords, think about in which text I want to include them, and then I get started writing. And if you spend 2 to 3 hours writing a page like this, or even if you spend 4 to 5 hours, that's honestly well invested time if you're going to rank number 1 because of that in the long run, and you're going to get tons and tons of leads because of it. And this is always just one piece of the equation. You also need to get strong backlinks. But doing this will really help you tremendously. Another way to do it, to write this content is, or to get a draft, is you copy all those keywords to the clipboard. Then you go into ChatGPT. You basically just tell ChatGPT. I mean, we can do this here. Let's try this. So I have a prompt for this where it's just, and I can copy this in the description of the video. So here you would enter your business name, targeted area, word count, and so on. So, and it gives all the instructions that it needs to know. And then you enter the keyword list, and then let's run it. Okay, so now it's finished, and I'm just going to copy it. Copy and paste it into Rankability, and you'll see what happens. So you wait for a second, and then boom, we got a rankability score of 66. That's actually, I think it could be doing much better than that. Usually when I do this, I will have a score of like 90 plus. But even this is pretty good. Bear in mind, this is more than any of the other competitors here. Now, a word of caution, this is purely AI generated. So it gives you an idea of how you could write it, but I would, at least for the homepage, I would not have pure AI content. You can do it, but at your own risk. I don't recommend it because it's going to be pretty generic and kind of bland in a way. So I would recommend to just do like this and write the content yourself, you know, and then try to include the keywords. So you could say, welcome to Tree Growers Miami. So you could even keep the first sentence. But you see how it didn't follow my instructions, so you have to be careful. For all tree service needs in Miami FL, but I wanted to have the primary keyword here. So this is what I wanted, right? I wanted the primary keyword, not a variation. And then you say, here's an overview of the main services that we offer, because that's what people want to know. And then maybe you have like 4 pictures underneath and you write a little bit about each of the services. And then you have a service area, a section underneath that. And but this basically gives you an idea of where you could include which keywords. And it's a good baseline. You can use parts of it, but I would generally recommend against using 100% AI content. And that's a topic for another video, but even if it might be fine, you never know the future updates that Google's going to come up with, and if it's going to punish AI content in any whatever way, and then you don't want your site to be susceptible to that. So even just for that reason, beyond many other reasons as well, just write it yourself or get another human to write it for you. So I hope this helps, and I think that really covers it. Again, this piece of content is going to be very, very relevant if you do it like that, which is usually enough to rank well, to be honest. If you then even weave in first-hand experience and these other things that we talked about in the beginning, and you even manage to write something that brings in a unique angle to the table, maybe not so much with a homepage copy, but let's say it's a blog post, then you're really going to crush it, because you also have to see, okay, Google is looking for information gain. And so if you publish something that's like what everybody else already has written, then you have, and your site authority doesn't match the sites that are already ranking, then you're not going to rank. Simple as that. However, if you have a lower site authority, but you bring something new to the table, then you actually might have a shot at ranking on the first page, maybe even top 3, number 1. And for example, if you collect unique data about a certain topic, the kinds of trees in Chicago or in Michigan or whatever it might be, and you collect unique data on that, or just have something that's very unique and very new and that hasn't been seen before, then Google will want to show that to people, and it's not gonna vanish, So yeah, that's it for how you write SEO content that ranks. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. And if you want to know the other important factor, because content is just one piece of the equation. If you write good content and you don't do this other thing, then it's going to be very difficult for you to rank, definitely in areas that are competitive. However, if you have this other area covered, you could be getting away with mediocre content or even bad content. It's kind of sad in that regard. If you have strong site authority, you could get away with bad content and still rank. So watch my video on backlinks to understand what that is all about. I'm going to link it right here. And I see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.